Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So if you recognize this face, it may have been from a while ago because the minute that I'm recording this video, I will not be uploading. I want to make sure that everything is in line before I upload this, just for legal purposes, I guess. But I know I can tell this story time because it's my story. And if said company does not like it, too bad. I don't care. So, without further ado, this story time is going to be a compilation of my neighbors in my apartment complex management / apartment complex in general. If you did not see my storytime vlog from when I had first moved in, we're gonna start there because I feel like it's relevant to the situation of me living in said apartment. I'm actually in the middle of finding a new apartment to move into, whether it be in the same city, the same state, or I might be moving all together. I don't know yet. Everything's kind of up in the air. And I don't have any definite concrete. Obviously, more than likely, at the time of this video being uploaded, I probably would have already had some type of moving vlog out. So, watch that moving vlog first if you want. I don't know. It's up to you. But without further ado, within the first 48 hours of us moving into this apartment complex, we noticed that there was no parking unless you wanted to pay for a paid parking spot under a little like tin thing. I don't know. It wasn't great parking, but you know, at least it kept some rain and snow off my car, and I for sure had a parking spot no matter what. And it wasn't like far away from my parking, like my building. It was right across the street, so I had to walk a little bit extra, but I mean, it's whatever. It wasn't the end of the world to me. I'd rather have a spot I can park in no matter what. And so we went into the office like the very next business day because we got there like really late, and the next business day I went into the office and I said, hey, I need 2 paid parking spots, and my car was still on the back of the trailer attached to the U-Haul, so like my car wasn't actually parked, but Johnny's was. Like, we needed a spot for Johnny, and like I said, we got there late the very first night, and so I went in and got, you know, parking passes from the apartment, and they said it's like $35 per car or something, which I thought was kind of absurd, but whatever. Like, I wasn't really gonna argue with it. I wanted a parking spot for sure. I didn't want to park like so far away from my building, and I also didn't want to have to like lug groceries and stuff like far. So I'm like, okay, it is what it is. So we paid for these spots. And to be fair, at that time, they did say, hey, we've been, you know, moving like spots around and stuff and giving out duplicate stickers on accident. So if that does happen, please let us know. But everyone at this apartment complex is so nice, they will leave you a note before towing you. Okay, thank you. So I go and get Chinese, and which by the way, I'm gonna miss Red 88 if we move out of state or even city, because they have fire Chinese. But anyways, go and get food, and you know, we had just moved like all of our stuff inside, but like we hadn't like organized anything, so we didn't really have anywhere to sleep. We just slept on the couch. We threw like some sheets down because like the couch was just the most convenient to get to. No, I take that back. We might not even been sleeping on the couch. We might have had the air mattress on the floor. No, we definitely moved everything in because we definitely had the couch in. We slept on the couch because I couldn't find the car keys because all the boxes and stuff. Anyways, I wanted to make sure the car was locked after getting food because I couldn't remember if the car was locked. I realized that the car was gone. I searched high and low. I found the duplicate car key, which it is a push to start, and without the key fob in the car, it can't like run, or at least to my knowledge. Like if someone like hacked it or wired it or whatever, like okay, but regardless. And so car was gone. We immediately called the cops, and we immediately talked to the tow truck company. No one knows where this car is, and unfortunately the apartment complex was closed, like the office and stuff, and so like we didn't know what to do. We started panicking. Finally, several hours go by, and we finally get a hold of the tow truck company, and they're like, yeah, we towed it. I'm like, why? Like, that we pay for that parking spot. They're like, oh, well, the person whose spot it is showed us paperwork. We saw them in person, and we verified it, and then we towed them. Keep this in mind, by the way. You don't get paperwork for your spot. Even on your like monthly bill, like if you pay your like rent online, it just says paid parking. It doesn't have like a number next to it. Second of all, the very next day when I went to, like, we got the car out, and then the next like business day that the office was open, I went to get like a reimbursement because like we're paying for this spot. You told us to park in the spot. Like, what? And then they got mad at us because they're like, well, we don't want to reimburse you. You should have contacted us first. Cool. Well, it was Saturday Saturday night, so you weren't going to be there for the rest of the night, and you were not there Sunday. So like, what are we supposed to do? We have to have the vehicle. And so I end up running into this lady because I see her walking to the parking spot. And I go, look, I said, is that your spot? And she goes, yeah. And I go, why'd you tow my car? And she's like, well, you were in my spot. And I'm like, well, I pay for that parking spot. And she was like, well, I work till 2 a.m. and I had nowhere to park and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, excuse me, what? I'm like, the tow company said they talked to you in person before 10 p.m. But you're saying you work till 2. What? So she was just blatantly lying to me and cussing me out and stuff. So I turned it all into the office. The office ended up reimbursing us for the tow fees and also giving us like a gift card, which, I mean, $50 gift card for our inconvenience and being harassed after a few days of living there. Not exactly like a great option, but like we didn't have any other choice. So that's where it all started. Now, let's go ahead and trickle through. During pandemic, they had their spa, their sauna, their game room closed. Hot tub was closed half the time, or by reservation only, or by office hours only. Pool was only by office hours and reservation. I get it, it's a pandemic, whatever. And then like the gym had only 4 people in it during office hours for the longest time, but now it's 24/7 with only 4 people in it at the same time. So like at least the gym has better options. But basically nobody wanted to follow the hot tub and pool rules, like especially the hot tub rules. And actually there was several times for the pool also, like during the summer. And I'm like, you know what? It's people like this who are now going to ruin it for the rest of us because, and I was my most inner Karen, you bet. But I'm like, you know what? That's bogus because like, are you kidding me? Like, and I had talked to the office. I'm like, hey, you know, they were in there, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, we couldn't get a good picture of it. And without having, like, you know, recognizing them, we can't say anything. Because they were all, like, teenagers. And at one point in time, I almost got hit by one of them. So the very first interaction I'll never forget. I think the pool wasn't open yet. I think it was just a hot tub. But there was, like, 6 of them. You could tell they were, like, they'd been drinking, probably smoking. And they're trying to do some stuff in the hot tub, which I think is disgusting. Like, that's a public place with tons of neighbors, like, all around you in any direction. And I'm like, hey, you can't be in there. And they were calling me every name in the book. And it was these girls who didn't even live in this apartment complex that were like lipping off. And you know, I at one point in time had a video on my phone, which I don't even think I have anymore, but they were just going on and on. And I was recording it to give it to the office, right? At this point, I don't even think it was the same kids who kept jumping the fence. I think this particular time was a different group of kids, but I like followed them with the camera so I could like try to, you know, get closer picture of their faces, or like they were trying to jump into cars to get their driver's or their license plate to give the office just so like something would get done. And they tried hitting me with the car. They tried backing into me and hitting me with the car. I'm like, you're absolutely kidding me, right? So they end up getting banned from the hot tub and pool and whatever. And like the mom of the kid, like who actually lived there, because only one person of that group of 6 lived there. She's like, oh, you don't have proof, like my kid wasn't there, didn't jump the fence, blah, blah, blah. And the kid also tried telling me that he used like his key card. I went up to that door, my key card didn't work, so he's a liar. And like the apartment complex said they saw him jump the fence anyways. And so like the mom's like, oh, you don't have proof, and then they're like, well, we do have proof. And they then said that I was the one cursing them out, calling them names, harassing them. So I gave my video to the office. I'm like, here's proof that I wasn't. Like, this is from the beginning that I saw them until they took off in their car. Entire video. Here you go. No. And so, you know, nothing really got done. I never got spoke to again. And, you know, time and time and time again, people keep jumping the fence, keep going to the hot tub or the pool. And there was one time that this mom, I don't even think she was mom. I think she was like the older sister or whatever, or a babysitter for all I care. But she was with these 2 kids and a girl her own age or close to her age. And I'm like, hey, like you guys can't be in there. And the apartment complex had at this point told me like, hey, please keep reporting this. Please keep telling us, because what's going to happen is if like the health department or whatever swings by and sees that, like then it's going to be closed for everybody. Like there's no if, ands, or but. It's just closed. And I wanted, you know, I'm paying extra for this apartment complex for all these amenities. I would like to be able to use them at some point in time, right? And so at this point they had given me the office, like, not security, because they didn't have security, of course, but their, like, maintenance line or whatever. And I'm like, hey, you know, there's these people, blah, blah, blah. And Nothing got done. At one point in time, the very first kids that jumped the fence, that didn't even live there, by the way, he was just like, my aunt lives over there. It's like, well, where? And he wouldn't tell us, and then he would like take off. And what ended up happening was, like, the apartment complex told me to call the cops. So I called the cops, and they're like, which I know this is all over the place, and there's like 50 different stories here. But those kids, I called the cops on, and they were like the very first kids that jumped the fence that I saw. And the reason why it triggered me so much is because they were so loud and screaming that I could hear them from my apartment. Like, are you kidding me? That means everyone else can hear. And everyone else is too much of a chicken to call the cops or talk to the office. So I'm like, well, I'll do it. I don't care. So I called the cops, and the cops were like, well, on the gate here, it says that it's open from these days and these hours, and this is a private property. We can't do anything. So I told the office that, and the office is like, no, like, call the cops. Like, no. Call the cops again at a different time. And again, the cops are like, well, we're not going to do anything. And we don't, like, if the kids just took off, like, we extra can't do anything. And the cops were just so rude and nasty to me. And I'm like, you're absolutely kidding me. You guys are absolutely disgusting. You guys are fresh out the force. I'm older than you. You think you're hot shit. Like, okay, cool. I'm so glad. So those are my hot tub pool stories. And there's so many different times. And I'm just like, you're, like, whatever. So I was over it at this point. And this last time that people jumped the fence and were in there, I didn't even say anything. I didn't take any videos, any pictures, nothing. All I did was text the office and I go, oh, did you guys change your pool hours again? Because at one point in time for like a week, and only a week, was the pool and hot tub were open like until 10 p.m. every night, even outside of office hours, but only for 1 week. And they only posted it on Facebook. They didn't even like send out an email or letter or put anything on our doors to let everyone know. It just like randomly happened. And they took that away very quickly, and like pandemic. And so I'm like, hey, if you guys changed your pool, your like hot tub hours, I'd love to know. I'd love to go to use it. And they're like, well, we didn't. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I saw 2 different sets of 2 different people there past the hours. Like, I don't care if they're there anymore. Like, I don't care if you guys get shut down, but like, I want to be able to use it too then. They didn't like that. By the way, we always paid our rent on time, if not early, and in full. Yeah. So, you know, we've been living here for a few months, and I started working from home. And let's talk about neighbors. So across the hall is a family, and their kids scream in the hallway. And these walls are paper thin. Scream. Triggers the dogs. They're already loud. You know, dogs are loud, kids are loud, right outside our door. And I'm just like, you're kidding me, right? So, you know, but it never lasts for that long, but long enough that it, you know, it's annoying and it's loud and the dogs are triggered and I'm on the phone with the customers like, cool, fun, cute. And then that's just like all the time, continuous, all hours of the day. Never crazy late, thankfully. And they clearly neglect their dog, because in the cold will put their dog out on the open porch patio thing and just leave it out there, and he's whining and barking, and I feel awful. So like the dog is always barking and whining, which again, it's not like 24/7, but it's like often enough that it's like, come on, do something about it. The only time I ever said anything to my neighbors, those particular neighbors I should specify, was we are only allowed to put our trash out from Sunday to Thursday after 5 p.m. and pick up is at 7 p.m. because we have people that come around picking up the trash and stuff. And they would leave out, like, first of all, we normally can leave out 2 bags. You know, either 2 trash, 2 recycling, or 1 trash, 1 recycling, like a combination. And they would leave these out Thursday night, like after trash had been picked up. So it'd be there all weekend. In the summertime, it would get so hot and smelly, and animals would come and rip it open and then leave food and trash all over the hallway and stairs. And so I left a little note on their door, and I go, trash days are these days. Don't put your trash out till after this time. And that was it. Like, I didn't like call my names, harass them, or anything. And they took the note down, which means they saw it, and they still do it. They don't, like, they stop for like a couple days, and they start doing it again, which is so annoying. And so those are my across the hall neighbors. Let's move to the ones that I share a wall with on the other side of us. The first set from when we first moved in, they weren't very loud at all. Like, there was like one night I distinctly remember that they were loud and screaming and having a couple fight, which whatever. And after that, they moved out, never heard from them again. Cool, fun, great. Well, who moved into that apartment was a musician. And I say musician in quotes because A, with a voice like that, I would hope you're not a musician, because it's awful, which I know everyone has their own taste of music and style and whatnot, but it's like, if you don't have talent, how can you do anything? And if you're actually a musician, why are you not practicing with your band? And if you're in a band and, you know, your guitarist and drummer and stuff all practice, like, go to their place. And there's no concerts going on right now, so you have no gigs. And you don't have to scream, like, sing at the top of your lungs either. Like, you're not singing into a mic for a whole audience, right? So they very first moved in, and I just hear singing at the top of his lungs. So I go and pound on the wall, even louder. And I'm like, you're kidding me. So I went and took my dogs out that day, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go knock on this neighbor's door. Knocked on the neighbor's door. I go, hey, are you singing? And he goes, yeah, why? And I'm like, well, it's really loud and I work from home. And he goes, oh, I thought it was either upstairs or downstairs and I didn't really care about them. I'm like, well, obviously you didn't care about me, but I didn't say that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I work from home. And he goes, okay, no problem. And turned his music down and sang quieter, which it was still loud enough that I could hear, but it was quiet enough that, like, I was able to work better, I guess. And continuously just singing at the top of his lungs. So finally, I'm like, look, office, do something about it. Like, I'm not gonna go and knock over there every single time. I'm trying to work. And they're like, well, he says he's a musician and he has to be singing from such and such hours. I'm like, cool, so exactly the time that I work. Love that. And him and his girlfriend or wife or whatever she is, they fought a few times, which again, I don't really care about the fights because it's not all the time and it's not continuous. So more than anything, it was the singing that got to me. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is great. Like, can something be done about this? And clearly nothing was going to be done. So I just moved past it. I'm like, all right, well, I mean, I guess this is this. Like, there's nothing I can really do because the office doesn't care. Like, whatever. Anyways, so that's my next door neighbors. Let's move upstairs. So my neighbors upstairs, they have a small child. I kid you not, within the first couple weeks that I moved in, their fight was so loud and screaming that I know her name. I know how much money they have in their bank account, and I could hear the entire fight. I told the office. Clearly they weren't happy about it because then they started stomping around and like banging around and whatever. And I thought like we had kind of moved past that because then they kind of just stopped. But instead what happened was this screaming child screaming at the top of his lungs all of the time, slamming, banging, everything. And the dad is screaming at the child and he's banging around and it's just non-stop screaming and banging. And so I started recording the ceiling to then submit the videos to the office. I'm like, look, like, you need to do something about it. Like, I'm trying to work from home. Because at first they're like, well, we need proof. Like, they're saying that they're not being loud. They're saying they're not yelling, blah, blah, blah. Kid's not screaming. And so I submitted the video to them. And again, for like a week, it was quiet and it started up all over again. At this point, I'm tired of talking to the office. I don't want to be that person, but at the same time, I work from home. You're loud, you're rude, and you're being disrespectful. And these walls and floors are paper thin. To this day, I still hear the screaming and everything, and we've lived here now for almost a year. So it's absolutely miserable and awful. Moving downstairs. Now, our downstairs neighbors, I'm 99% sure, are drug addicts. I don't know what all drugs they do, but I can tell that they're popping something and doing something other than drinking and smoking weed at some point in time, because you can tell by the type of music that they listen to every now and then very randomly, and it's always like music you'd want to listen to if you're like really fucked up, which don't do drugs, kids. And so they'll blast their music. There's been countless times that it's so loud that I can feel the couch and floor vibrate. Again, recorded it, sent it to the office. I got spoken to allegedly. It stopped. Still happens. And so their bed is obviously set up right below ours, which is fine. All the apartments are set up the exact same way with the layouts. Cool, whatever, don't care. And I can hear them all the time. And he laughs so distinctly that like I know it's him, and it's so loud. And they like have the TV blasting, and it's like I go to bed between 9 and 10 p.m. Quiet time is 10 p.m. I'm up by 5 to get ready for work because I work 6, unfortunately. And like there was one time it was just bad. Like the TV was on so loud, and it had been multiple days in a row, and I hadn't been sleeping well. I hadn't been getting any sleep. So I went and stomped on the floor because I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm done. Which, by the way, one of the very first times that we moved in, like I tried some new beer, like variety pack thing, and there was a bunch of flavors that I knew I wasn't gonna like. So I'm like, just one time randomly, I'm like, hey, like you guys come home with beer every other day. Do you want this beer? And he took it. And by the way, I never see them leave. So if they're working from home, congrats. but I don't think they work. I think that they have their family members pay for their rent, which I understand, again, it's a pandemic, and I'm not shaming them for that, but it's like, you guys can sleep all day if you're not actually working from home, so like, or you can just be respectful because you're home 24/7. Not hard. So I stomp on the floor, and he is screaming, talking about how talking about like my apartment, how they fight every night Friday from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. every Friday, and started banging on our walls and stuff, saying how we're banging on the walls, which we don't. Like, we don't even have like a backboard for the bed, so like they're like, even if we moved around in bed, no. And we're sleeping quiet, so like, again, no. And by the way, I'm still exhausted Friday nights because I woke up at 5 a.m. and worked all day. Are you crazy? And he's like, that alarm goes off every 5 a.m. every day. Well, yeah, I set an alarm so I can get up because I actually work every single day. And so just going on, and I could tell he was getting ready to come up here. Sure enough, I heard that his door slam, and I heard him coming up the stairs. I wanted to be the one to go speak to him. However, I heard the entire interaction because I was still there. He's like, that alarm goes off every day. You're banging on the walls. No, we're not. We're not banging on anything. Like, you have other neighbors. You don't only have upstairs neighbors. You have a neighbor that you share a wall with, and downstairs. He goes, well, I heard you say sorry when I said quit banging on the walls. Nope, we didn't say a fucking word to you. Which means that the people downstairs acknowledged that they were being loud and blasting music and banging on stuff, and so they apologized. So no, we didn't apologize because we didn't do anything. We were asleep in bed, or trying to go to sleep anyways. We were being quiet because we were trying to go to sleep. And he goes, I hear that alarm every day. Yeah, we work. And he's like, you're fighting every Friday at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. No, we're not. We're literally, it is Friday right now, today, the day you are showing up at our door, and we're in bed. He goes, well, you're having a party. Where? All the lights are off. Nobody is here. Johnny showed up to their door without a shirt on even. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And he's like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he implied that he had a weapon, that he wished he had grabbed a weapon. Because, like, you're going to be sorry, or you wish you had been sorry. And acting like he had a knife or a gun or something in his apartment that he was going to bring up. And, Johnny lipped off to him, which he probably shouldn't have. But, I didn't say anything, so whatever. But yeah, he's just running his mouth, and I'm just like, this guy is dead ass gonna come at us with a weapon and try to hurt us or kill us. Like, he's psycho. And both of my bathrooms get hotboxed all the time. Not by me, not by anyone that lives in this apartment, but from downstairs, all the smoke coming up. And I've tried talking to the office. And I'm so glad that next Saturday morning I went into the office because I was almost not going to. But I went in and they're like, oh, I'm really glad you showed up. We were getting ready to talk to you. Like, you just got, reported. And I'm like, let me tell you what actually happened. Basically what happened was he went and told the office that we are loud and banging and fighting and screaming every night. And so I explained to her, like, what happened. And I'm like, look, we've had this talk before. Like, all my other neighbors are being loud. Why would I just conveniently be loud? And if I'm loud every Friday night, why has he never reported us? Like, are you, like, no. We don't have people over, ever. Like, we don't blast music. We go to bed early. We work early. Like, no. And I think the office kind of sided with us on that because they kind of knew, because I complained so many times about all my other neighbors being loud and stuff, and them being loud even. It's like, okay, well, no. So ever since then, like, the neighbors downstairs, like I said, bathrooms will smell like marijuana, and, there's banging on the walls and blasting music and vibrating floors and stuff. And at this point, I'm like, I just need this lease to be up, and I'll get on out of here. Now, the reason why this video will not be uploaded until a later time and date is because I would like my full deposit back from my rent. Because we put down like $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, I don't even remember. But I would like it all back. And we're already clean. And we're already not causing any damage to said apartment. So we should be getting all of it back. And normally they said that they charge cleaning fees. But if you'll remember, when we moved in, there was dried dog poop on the carpets. The floors were disgusting and dirty. And there was dried dog poop out on the patio deck thing. Like, it looked like it hadn't even been cleaned. And my OCD ass had to clean everything intensely to even feel comfortable unpacking and moving stuff in. So they said they were going to waive those cleaning fees. And so I feel like I don't want to upload this until, like, I get my money back. because I don't know if they're going to try to like sue me or whatever, but Harriman Town Center Apartments in Harriman, Utah is garbage. Do not move here. Their management does not care. They will charge you for amenities you cannot use. They don't care about your neighbors being loud and disrespectful. They told me, they're like, well, none of these other neighbors got complaints before, like talking about upstairs especially. And it's like, cool, well then the people who lived here probably, you know, it was right before the pandemic, probably were out at work all day, so didn't have to hear the screaming child all day long. They might not have been home all the time because they might have been out working, you know, before the pandemic. So like there's a lot of factors that came into play. So like you can't just say, oh, you're the only one that's complained about them or complained in general, when pretty sure that's not, like, situations are not the same, even remotely. But yeah, I hate this apartment complex, and I've had some shitty apartments, which I kind of want to do a little story time series on all the apartment complexes I've lived in and how, you know, shitty they were. I mean, yes, I know it also depends on the person living here, but, you know, I'm here to work, I'm here to store my shit, and I'm here to sleep. I don't really expect much out of an apartment. Like, it's not a permanent thing, it's not my house, I'm not having parties, I'm not screaming and being loud, I'm not, you know, one thing that I do dearly miss about not being in an apartment, like the last place I lived in was a townhome. Like we had a next door neighbor, but he was almost either never home and he was also half deaf, he told us. So like he would turn his TV up a little loud, but like we didn't care because he was just so nice. But like I can't do Just Dance because I can't stomp. I'm sure not opening that can of worms. And I can't do like any real workouts that I want to do because I'm afraid they're going to cause too much noise. And especially after that whole situation happened, I'm going to be extra careful to not like bang around and make noise and stomp, because I'm not going to have someone recording me and turning it into the office. But yeah, allegedly being loud and everything, I'm like, well, tell them to record us, please. If like that's really us, tell them to record us. Would love it for them too. So yeah, I don't know. This apartment complex is a joke. They're overpriced. And I feel like with us not being able to get to use like any of the amenities, which again, I'm okay with because of pandemic, you should at least reduce our rent. Because like we're paying extra for those, but we don't get to use them, which that will be a conversation I will be having with them, because like this is ridiculous and we had to give a 60-day notice, and because we didn't give it right in time, our lease is extended by 2 months, so we're gonna have to pay like additional fees on top of normal rent. I don't know. This place is an absolute joke, and I would not recommend to anybody. We saw the negative reviews on like Google, and we just didn't have a choice. We had to find somewhere like right away. Like we just had to move in like 2 weeks. So do your research. Look at all the 1-star reviews, because there's 1-star reviews for a reason. But that's all I've got for this video. Who knows when this will be uploaded. Subscribe, comment, turn on that bell. All my socials are linked down below. Until next time.